Okay, so I want to share a idea that's coming up in some of my coaching sessions this week, which is that sometimes learning how to manage effectively and delegate effectively can be a challenge for women. I think sometimes women get stuck in a place where we're so empathetic that we can feel like we need to make everything absolutely perfect for our direct reports. And so we end up kind of bottlenecking and, kind of working really hard to make the perfect project to hand over. And then it takes a lot of time. So we're not ahead of time. We leave people without work. And I think we sometimes even struggle a little bit to give people, here's the outcome. Now you figure out how you're going to achieve it so that we can actually give them opportunities to grow. I think many of us have had micromanagers in our career who managed us, and sometimes we end up replicating that because we're trying to help people, but we end up limiting people. So this is Nevena. She works for Stantec. She's a planner, and she was with me in one of my coaching sessions this week where it came up, and she had a great insight for her, and I'll let her share how it came up for her.
Thanks, Maya. So as we were chatting in the session, I realized that a lot of what you were saying resonated with me in that I do tend to be a bit of a perfectionist with some of my deliverables. And, I often think, is it going to take more time to teach a team member how to do a task rather than do it myself? I have to say, I think this is it's detrimental to myself, but it's also detrimental to my team members and anybody who I'm trying to teach things to. They don't have an opportunity to learn independently and make their own mistakes and learn that way. And then also I end up having oftentimes too much on my plate. I get stressed out and overwhelmed. So this is definitely something that I am working on in my professional life. But what really kind of struck me as we were talking was basically, I wanted to know why we did some of these things. And for me, what I would see around me was my male coworkers is they would take a lot more professional risks, even in like smaller tasks or medium tasks or, deliverables, whatever it was. They would put themselves out there and, if they make a mistake, they tended to bounce back quite quickly and, brush it off and move on. Whereas I would ruminate on my mistakes and, I'd have a hard time getting over them. And again, I think that all comes down to risk. And I think it also comes down to, how we develop our own sense of value and worth in the professional world. And I think it's harder for women and for men in that sense. So I think it's kind of like a multi-tiered realization for me. So
Yeah. I think it's not just a risk sometimes to, test out working with a person or giving them more responsibility. But I think sometimes we worry that A, it might not work out, but B, what if they're not happy, right? What if they're not happy, or we didn't do a good job, or we weren't a good manager and we disappointed them? And so there's this emotional risk, I think, in that relationship. And then there are these bigger risks of, what if I make a mistake on this project? So tell us what you're taking on for yourself.
So one of the things that I'm trying to do is to take the time to sit down with some of my team members and have learning opportunities for them that are real and tangible and aren't just like, fast, superficial. And the other thing that is not necessarily a tangible thing, but I've just started to be, I think, a bit more open and honest with the people I work with in terms of the type of personality I have and just being myself. And I think that is one of those first steps to starting to feel more comfortable in the workspace, feeling my value and being able to speak my mind. And, progressively, I think maybe taking more of those risks.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, well, thanks so much for your thoughts, Nevena, and we're excited for you.